My stepdaughter called me wicked and hit me with a champagne bottle when I prevented her from using our living room for a party on a Wednesday night. She told her friends I was the worst person and she is happy I wasn't her father. Her mom, my wife, was just smiling. I made sure they all regretted their actions. I will tell you how everything unfolded. First, let me quickly thank you for your continuous support. This means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel. It will be great if you can leave a comment on which city you are watching from. We might just give you a shout out in our next story. Today's special shout out goes to Richard Bruce from New York. We are glad you enjoy our stories. Now let's go deeper into the story. For the better part of 10 years, I paid every bill that crossed the threshold of our home. Electric, gas, mortgage, groceries, even the occasional luxury my wife insisted we deserved. I didn't complain, not out loud anyway. I believe providing was part of loving, part of building a family. And when I married Denise, I thought I was doing exactly that, building. I'd never expected the cracks in our foundation would come not from neglect, but from the very people I thought I was saving. Denise had a daughter from a previous relationship, Tasha. She was 12 when we met, already too old to start calling someone else dad, and I never asked her to. All I wanted was mutual respect. I tried to show up in every way I knew how, tutoring her in math, attending school plays, even pretending to be interested in the TikTok dances she made in the kitchen. I was never trying to replace her father, just trying to be someone who showed up and stayed. But for every small gesture I made, Denise chipped away at it with her silence. Or worse, with a laugh. It's funny how disrespect doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it drips in, quiet as a leaky faucet. The first time Tasha rolled her eyes at me during dinner and said, "You're not even my real dad," Denise just smirked at her plate. I remember sitting there, fork mid-air, wondering if I was the only one who'd heard it. That was the moment I should have said something, drawn a hard line. But I didn't. I told myself she was a teenager, that it was just a phase, that Denise would talk to her later. She never did. Instead, the pattern repeated. Eye rolls, back talk, blatant disregard for the simplest house rules. And Denise? She stood on the sidelines, arms folded, as if parenting was a spectator sport. Sometimes I wondered if she secretly enjoyed watching me squirm. Like she got a kick out of seeing how much I'd tolerate in the name of peace. And I did tolerate it. I worked longer hours to avoid the tension at home. I gave up my den so Tasha could have a study space. I let them redecorate the living room with pastel pinks and faux fur throws, even though it made the place feel more like a teenage fever dream than a shared home. I gave and gave and gave, and in return, I was treated like an outsider in my own house. Still, I told myself it was worth it. That love wasn't about keeping score. That one day, they'd see how much I'd done for them. Not because I needed a thank you, but because I wanted to feel seen. But in that house, I was never truly seen. I was convenient, useful, the man who kept the lights on and the pantry full. I didn't realize just how invisible I'd become until the night everything fell apart. But that's a story for later. Right now, I just want to make one thing clear. I didn't walk away on a whim. I held that family together with both hands, knuckles white from the strain. And when it finally broke, it wasn't because I stopped caring. It was because I couldn't keep caring for people who treated me like I didn't matter. That night, when Tasha called me wicked and shattered the champagne bottle across the hardwood floor, it wasn't the glass that broke me. It was the look on Denise's face, amused, almost smug, that told me I'd been the fool all along. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what led up to that night. Let me show you how being good, being the man of the house, almost cost me everything. It was a Wednesday night. I remember that clearly because I'd just wrapped up back-to-back meetings and all I wanted was silence, a hot shower, and my usual seat on the couch. My back was aching from hours in a stiff office chair, and my phone battery had died somewhere between the third Zoom call and the fourth unread email. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed more cars than usual parked along the curb. Small hatchbacks and compact sedans, the kind you'd expect from a group of college kids or high school seniors. My stomach dropped. I already knew something wasn't right. I stepped through the front door and was immediately hit with bass. Thumping, headache-inducing bass from one of those party playlists full of lyrics I couldn't decipher, not that I cared to. The living room, my living room, had been transformed into some kind of makeshift club. LED strip lights flickered pink and blue along the walls, and a crowd of teenagers stood shoulder to shoulder, laughing, posing for pictures, pouring drinks into cheap plastic cups. And there she was, Tasha, center of attention, in a sequined crop top and high-waisted jeans, holding court like a little queen. I didn't even get a hi, just a glance, followed by a smug, "You can go upstairs now if you don't like it." I blinked, stunned for a second. "What the hell is this?" I asked, voice raised to be heard over the music. She rolled her eyes. "It's just a party. It's not a big deal. It's a school night," I said. "And this is my house. You didn't ask." That's when she sneered, this dramatic, exaggerated expression like I was some pest who'd wandered into her scene. "You're always ruining everything. Just go upstairs and stay out of it. Nobody wants you here." My hands clenched at my sides. "Turn the music off and ask your friends to leave." "No." She laughed. Actually laughed. Then, turning to her friends, she shouted over the music, "See what I mean? This guy's a control freak. I swear, I'm so glad he's not my real dad." And that was the moment. The moment the last thread snapped. I stepped forward, trying to remain calm. "I'm serious, Tasha. This ends now." Then it happened, quick as a blink. She grabbed a half-full bottle of champagne from the coffee table, raised it, and before I could react, slammed it hard against the floor near my feet. It shattered, spraying glass and bubbles across the room. The music cut off. Everyone froze. "You are wicked," she screamed. "You don't belong here." For a split second, all I could do was look at the jagged shards and the fizz soaking into the rug. Then I looked up, at Denise, who had just entered the room from the hallway. Her arms were crossed. Her mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile, but damn sure wasn't concern. "You think this is funny?" I asked her, voice trembling. "She just attacked me with a bottle." Denise shrugged. "You provoked her. You always do." There it was. The confirmation I didn't even realize I'd been waiting for. 10 years of resentment, gaslighting, and undermining all laid bare in one sentence. "I provoked her?" I said, voice shaking now, not with fear, but with something deeper. "Betrayal. You're seriously saying I deserve this?" "She's a teenager," Denise said, walking into the room like she didn't just witness a breakdown. "You're the adult. But you always act like some power-tripping tyrant. Honestly, you're lucky she hasn't snapped sooner." I just stood there, numb, my heart pounding in my chest, but not from rage, at least not only from rage. From the realization that this had never been my family. I had been financing a fantasy. "I want both of you out of this house," I said, the words forming from a part of me I hadn't touched in years. The part that knew when enough was enough. "Pack your things. Get out. Tonight." Denise scoffed, like she thought I was bluffing. "You're not serious." "I'm done," I said, and I meant it. "You've both disrespected me for years, and I let it slide. I kept thinking maybe if I tried harder, gave more, you'd finally see me. But I see it now. You never wanted me. You just wanted what I could give." For once, there was silence. Tasha stood behind her mother, arms folded, biting her lip, but even she seemed unsure now. Her friends began slipping out the door, one by one. "I'll give you till tomorrow afternoon," I said. "After that, I'm changing the locks." I turned away before Denise could say another word, walked up the stairs to my room, and closed the door behind me. My hands were shaking, not from fear but from relief. Not because I was free yet, but because I had finally chosen myself. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed for hours, fully dressed, staring at the shadows the hallway light cast under the door. Every creak in the floorboards downstairs made me tense. But no one came up. No knocks. No shouting. Just muffled footsteps, some rustling, and then silence. I don't know what I expected. An apology, maybe, or at the very least, some kind of confrontation. But it didn't come. I guess they assumed, like they always had, that I'd cool off and go back to tolerating the disrespect. They didn't know this version of me. Hell, I barely recognized him myself. By morning, the kitchen smelled like denial. Denise was cooking eggs like it was just another Thursday. She was humming, barefoot, spatula in hand. Tasha sat at the counter, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. There were still glitter confetti bits stuck to her hoodie. I stood in the doorway, watching them act like a nuclear bomb hadn't gone off less than 12 hours ago. You didn't start packing, I said quietly. Denise didn't even look up from the pan. We figured you'd come to your senses. I laughed. Not out of humor, but that bitter kind of laugh that comes when you're done being made a fool. Tasha assaulted me, I said flatly. In our home. You didn't just excuse it, you defended it. You smiled, Denise. Like it was a joke. Finally, she turned. She's a teenager. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. You know what's big? I asked. 10 years of swallowing my pride. 10 years of being dismissed, mocked, ignored in my own home. I paid for everything in this house. Every bite of food, every pair of shoes, every vacation you posted like it was some fairy tale. And what did I get in return? You got a family, she said coldly. No, I replied. I got used. The words hung in the air, heavy and irreversible. Tasha finally looked up. There was something in her eyes, shock, maybe, or fear. But she didn't say a word. Denise set the spatula down, slow and deliberate, and leaned on the counter like she was about to negotiate a business deal. You really want to throw this away? Over one bad night? I took a step forward. This isn't about last night. This is about the fact that for 10 years, I let you and your daughter walk all over me. I let you make me feel like a stranger in my own home. I stayed silent for peace. But you know what? Peace built on silence is just quiet suffering. I'm done suffering. Her face twisted, equal parts rage and desperation. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I ever have. I left the kitchen, went into my office, and pulled out the lease papers, the utility bills, the title. My name. All mine. Every signature, every monthly payment. Proof that I wasn't the intruder they made me feel like. I was the damn cornerstone. I handed her the folder. You have until 5 p.m., I said. You can take your things, but you don't take me with you, not in memories, not in guilt. You wanted this life, Denise, but you never respected the man who gave it to you. Now it's over. She didn't speak. Not right away, but I saw her hand tremble as she reached for the folder. Tasha stood up. Wait, are you serious? You're really kicking us out. You kicked yourselves out, I said. I just finally opened the door. I walked out before they could spin another excuse, another manipulation. For the rest of the day, I stayed upstairs. I didn't want to see them packing, didn't want the weight of old photos and dusty mementos slowing me down. I was done being sentimental. Every corner of that house held pieces of me I'd given away too easily. By 4:45 p.m., I heard the front door open. Heard it close. Silence. The kind that wasn't heavy or hollow, but clean, like fresh air after a storm. I was alone, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel lonely. I didn't move from the top step until long after the sun dipped behind the trees outside. The house was quiet now, really quiet. No Tasha shouting into her phone, no Denise banging drawers looking for something she'd lost but swore I had moved. No arguments over what to watch on TV, no passive-aggressive slamming of cupboard doors. Just stillness. A kind of stillness I hadn't felt in a decade. At first, the silence was disorienting. The kind of quiet that wraps around your shoulders and whispers, you're really alone now. I walked slowly through each room, as if seeing them for the first time. The couch still had an indent where Tasha had curled up the night before. Her glitter makeup smeared on one of the throw pillows. The fridge still held Denise's favorite almond milk, and that overpriced vegan yogurt she claimed I'd never understand. I opened it anyway, stared at it for a long second, then shut the door. I didn't cry. I thought maybe I would. But what I felt wasn't grief, it was exhaustion leaving my body. In the hallway, I paused in front of the framed family photo Denise had insisted we take years ago. A beach in the background. All smiles. I remembered that day clearly. How Denise snapped at me for forgetting the matching shirts. How Tasha refused to take her sunglasses off. How I forced a smile even as I felt like a stranger posing beside people who never truly let me in. I took the frame down, set it on the hallway table face down. Upstairs, the guest room sat untouched. The room I'd once considered converting into a reading space. That dream had been shelved because Tasha needed more space. Now, it was mine again. I stepped inside, opened the window, and let the breeze in. For the first time, I could breathe. It's a strange thing to look around a house and realize how much of it was shaped around the comfort of others. The scent of vanilla candles that I secretly hated. The pink fluffy rug Denise insisted made the living room pop. The mountain of throw pillows on the bed that served no purpose but to look Instagram-worthy. I had adjusted to their preferences without protest, chose their happiness over mine until I forgot I was allowed to want things too. I spent the next few days dismantling the shrine to a life I no longer lived. I donated Tasha's and used clothes, boxed up Denise's kitchen gadgets, and scrubbed the champagne stain out of the carpet myself. Each act felt like reclaiming inches of myself. Not out of spite, out of survival. The calls came soon after. First Denise, voicemail after voicemail, each one more desperate than the last. Please, can we talk? You're being unfair, baby. She didn't mean it. You're really going to throw us away like this? Then came the text from mutual friends. Some neutral. Hope you're okay. Heard things got rough. Some accusatory. Wow, you really kicked them out? A few, surprisingly, were supportive. It's about time you did something for yourself. But none of them really knew. No one else had lived in this house with me. No one else knew what it was like to give your heart, your money, your patience, and still be told you were never enough. One night, Denise showed up. No warning. I heard the doorbell, looked through the peephole, and saw her standing there with her makeup done just so, the same pleading eyes she used when she wanted something. I didn't open it. She knocked harder. You really not going to talk to me? After everything? I said nothing. You're acting like I cheated or something. Like I murdered someone. Still, nothing. Finally, her voice cracked. You can't just shut us out. I leaned against the wall inside, letting the silence answer for me. Because the truth was, I could. And I had. And I would keep doing it until I felt whole again. That night, as the porch light flickered off and I heard her car pull away, I felt something strange. Not joy. Not triumph. But peace. And peace, I realized, was worth every shattered illusion. A week passed before I saw them again. It was a Saturday morning, and I was out front watering the shrubs, an act that used to be an escape from tension inside the house. Now it was just quiet routine. The sun was barely up, the air still holding on to a sliver of morning cool, and for the first time in years, I was beginning to like this version of my life. Predictable. Peaceful. Mine. Then I saw Denise's car crawl up the street. She parked without asking. Tasha was in the passenger seat, arms crossed, sunglasses on even though the sun hadn't fully risen. I set the hose down and stood there, waiting. I didn't move toward them. I didn't wave. I didn't smile. I was done performing. Denise got out first. She wore her best concerned wife face. You know the one, eyes wide, brows pinched like sorrow itself, had taken up residence in her forehead. It was the same face she used when talking to neighbors or school officials. The face that made people think she was the reasonable one. I didn't come here to fight, she said. Good, I replied, because there's nothing to fight about. She glanced at Tasha, who reluctantly stepped out of the car and stood beside her. The girl looked thinner, angrier, but maybe, just maybe, a little less sure of herself. I'm sorry, Denise began, her voice practiced. For everything that happened. I know we crossed a line. I said nothing. We didn't mean for things to go that far, she continued. It got out of hand. I folded my arms. You didn't mean for her to call me wicked? You didn't mean to smile while she shattered a bottle in my house? Denise flinched. Okay, I handled it badly. I admit that. But you're not perfect either. You can be intense, controlling. You like things your way. There it was. The but. The conditional apology. The bait-and switch of accountability. I asked for respect, I said flatly. Not obedience. Not worship. Just basic decency. Denise took a breath like she was preparing for a courtroom rebuttal. You have to understand, Tasha's been through a lot. Losing her dad, adjusting to this life. She lashed out. She didn't just lash out. She assaulted me. And you told her I deserved it. Tasha finally spoke. I didn't mean to hit you with the bottle. I looked at her. But you meant everything else you said? She dropped her gaze, muttered something about being sorry. It didn't land. It was the kind of apology teenagers give when they've been dragged somewhere and told to behave. I turned back to Denise. So what do you want? She hesitated. To talk. To see if we can fix this. Maybe go to counseling. Work on rebuilding. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she still thought we were just one good therapy session away from erasing 10 years of erosion. This isn't fixable, I said. You let her disrespect me for years. You disrespected me. And now that I've finally drawn a line, you want to move it again. We can change, she pleaded. Things can be different. No, Denise, I said, quieter now. You want me to forget, not forgive. There's a difference. Her shoulders sagged. She looked older than I remembered. We have nowhere else to go, she said finally. Is that what you want? For us to suffer? I didn't flinch. I wanted a family. I got two people who used me until I had nothing left. I won't feel guilty for choosing myself now. Silence. Then she turned, walked back to the car, and got in without another word. Tasha followed, slower this time. And just before she shut the door, she looked back at me. Not with anger, just confusion. Like she was seeing me, truly seeing me, for the first time. But it was too late. They drove off, and I went back to watering the shrubs. Because peace, I was learning, requires maintenance, just like a garden. And I would tend to it fiercely, even if it meant keeping the gates locked for good. The silence became a companion. At first, it followed me like a stranger, awkward and stiff, hovering in the spaces where Denise's voice used to be or where Tasha's footsteps once stomped up the stairs. But over time, it settled, warmed, became familiar. I stopped jumping at shadows and started sleeping through the night. For the first time in years, I no longer felt like I was bracing myself for the next insult, the next eye roll, the next moment where I'd have to swallow my dignity in the name of keeping the peace. I took back my home one room at a time, stripped the walls of their pastel paint, replaced the throw pillows with things I actually liked, simple grays, clean blues. The television, once hijacked by teen dramas and reality shows, now played the quiet hum of documentaries and jazz. I even reclaimed my den, put up shelves, bought a proper reading chair. That room had been a compromise for nearly a decade. Now, it was mine. No questions asked. Sometimes, I'd find something they'd left behind, a bobby pin under the sink, one of Tasha's worn notebooks tucked behind the couch cushions. I'd hold it for a moment, feel the edge of nostalgia trying to make its case, and then I'd toss it into the donation box or the trash. Not out of spite, out of necessity. Holding on to little things only makes the big things harder to leave behind. They tried to reach out a few more times. A long email from Denise filled with emotional math, counting up the good memories, trying to outweigh the damage. It wasn't an apology. It was an argument in disguise. A list of reasons why I should forget what I'd been through. I didn't respond. Then Tasha sent a message on social media. Just one line. I didn't know you were really leaving us. I almost replied. I really did. But I reminded myself of the night she called me wicked, of the sound of that bottle shattering, of Denise's smile. And I realized I had already left long before they knew I was gone. I had been disappearing one small boundary at a time. The man who finally told them to get out wasn't new. He was just finally awake. I walk differently now. Not faster, not slower. Just lighter. I look people in the eye. I don't apologize when I say no. I don't justify choosing myself. Some days I still hear the echoes of those old battles. But they're softer now. Like distant thunder after the storm is past. And no, I'm not bitter. I'm clearer. I see now that being a provider doesn't make you valued. That kindness, when given without limits, becomes currency people stop appreciating. That love, real love, is respect in practice, not just sentiment in speeches. I gave 10 years to people who never truly saw me, but I'm giving the rest to someone who finally does, me. And I won't ever go back. If this story resonated with you or reminded you of someone reclaiming their peace after years of being taken for granted, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life stories that dive deep into family, betrayal, and the power of choosing yourself. Share your thoughts below. Your voice matters here. See you soon in the next story.